turn into a giant woman.
I think there isn't any doubt that we gamers love fighting giant adversaries. Making a boss big is an easy way to make it intimidating, as well as super satisfying to defeat. So it's no surprise that there are many, many giant bosses. So let's have a look at the colossal boss fights that really gave us the fights of our lives. Now for this list, the rules aren't gonna be exactly what you'd expect. For one, we're gonna factor in the game feel of these bosses first and foremost. How big the boss is on a relative scale to its environment, how big it is compared to the player, and how much it feels like you're putting in the effort to take down a large and durable opponent. While largeness on standard measurements alone can help, it isn't going to be the most important thing we look at. Second, what type of boss is it? If they're machines, we're going to look at robots and mechs over vehicles. There are way too many giant battleships and shoot 'em ups, so let's focus on the boss types that are a tad more personal. If they're RPG abominations, they definitely need to have an accurate official scale, since most of these bosses tend to be inconsistent with how they're sized up. And you know what? Since this is yet another list where we talk about bosses that are significantly sizable, let's double down and go for a top 15. Brace yourselves, because this list is going to be one hefty chunker. When it comes to bosses turning giant, you don't get any more classic and recognizable than Mario's own Bowser. Heck, turning massive is so central to his character, there's an entire game that made it an internal mechanism. Granted, Big Boy Bowser has been such a common occurrence in Mario games that it did become kind of routine. But for every fight that doesn't work, there's always a handful that left a good impression. So how about we look at some of the best giant Bowser fights the series has to offer? Starting off, New Super Mario Bros. U. After all of the finales of you just running away from Giant Bowser, it's super refreshing to finally face him head on. You gotta kick Junior out of his clown car and use it to smash Bowser right in the scalp. All the while, he floods the battlefield with a massive slew of fireballs and tries to flatten you with his oversized shell spin. Next up, Dream Team. You face off against him as Giant Luigi as you both teeter over platforms surrounded by lava. All the while, you will summon his minions after you as you fend them off in a series of quick time events. No, I swear these are good ones. To cap off the fight, Luigi and Bowser have a big old Beyblade duel as you hammer Bowser's shell over one last platform. And last, but certainly not least, Bowser's Fury. Throughout the campaign, Bowser hunts you down with a barrage of flames and spikes. It's not until you get the Giga Ball that when you can finally tussle down with the contaminated Koopa King. As he returns to his normal form and steals the Giga Bells, you give him chase in one of the toughest battles Mario ever has against his arch nemesis. As much as it is true to Mario's core for some boss fights to be platformer based, it seems pretty clear that the best Bowser fights out there are the ones where you actually beat the scaly stuffing out of him. And the giant Bowser fights are no exception to this case. While I've had my fill for these fights, if Nintendo were to give us another one and make it as thrilling as these three, I'd welcome it. As much as I love the Arkham series, I gotta admit that most of the boss fights for Asylum are kinda samey. Bane, the Titan boss fights, they're decent, but they're too similar in concept and execution. Obviously, two brawls in Asylum are the exception to this. Poison Ivy's and...
Boy, little bat, you're in my world now.
It's a Scarecrow again.
I praised the heck out of this guy in Mindfuck bosses, and he's getting his just due again today. Whenever Batman gets a cowl full of Scarecrow's fear toxin, the Cape Crusader is forced to endure a terrifying hallucination, including, but not limited to, seeing his loved ones dying before him, reliving the worst day of his life, and what I assumed was the game actually breaking at first. Each illusion ends with you being dragged into a hellish landscape where Scarecrow towers over all as on the hunt for the bite-sized Dark Knight. To survive, you have to keep out of the twisted doctor's sights, sneak past him, occasionally fight off some skeletal hordes, and shine the bat signal to end his haunting game of hide and seek. And you've got to endure it 3 times. And unlike Orochi, the 3 times are actually freaking different!
You just can't help yourself, can you?
Now, the Scarecrow fights are spooky, petrifying, and all kinds of fucked up. But why is he so low on the list? Well, to be honest, compared to others in terms of scale, Scarecrow as a giant doesn't really measure up, mostly because it was all an illusion. However, if we really stop and think about it, the illusion of his size could be symbolic of the grip he has over Batman's mind. Just consider this. One dose of his fear gas and the bat is at his mercy. Reality completely melts and distorts, and his greatest fears perform their terrible dance in front of his eyes. His fear of failure, reliving the most traumatic moment in his entire life. The nagging paranoia that he's just as bad as, if not worse than, the deranged criminals he fought so hard to protect Gotham from. These are all legit fears that would keep any mortal man tossing and turning at night. And at the end of the day, Batman is still only human, and no man is immune to fear. Scarecrow knows this and turns it into his deadliest weapon. And if you control a man's fear, you control the man. While there are much better giant fights on this list, it really goes to show how dangerous the hardships we've been through can influence our minds. One thing I'd like to see more games explore is being miniature. There's just so much potential for exploring our own world from a completely new perspective. To kinda scratch that itch, we have the Pikmin franchise, where everyday objects tower above your characters. Thus, I have to emphasize the whole size compared to player character thing. On its own, Quagglemire isn't really that big. The average baby is bigger than he is. Compared to your captains though, it's massive. The fight begins with you breaking the crystal shell and causing the core to emerge in the creepiest way possible.
Oh, it gets worse.
From there, you have to weaken its legs to expose the core and attack it directly, but be careful. It's possible for it to eat your Pikmin if they stay up too long. Did you know that's actually how a clam's tongue works in real life? You're welcome. With all that said, I can't really rank Quagglemire any higher due to the whole giant not actually being giant thing. Regardless, it's hard to deny how memorable it is if you played it, especially considering it gets fought at the end of a vicious starvation arc in Pikmin 3. Nothing says tension like throwing a big ol' sentient pebble in the face of your army.
Alright everybody, let's talk about Pokemon Sword and Shield again! Oddly quiet.
I'm glad to see the Sword and Shield hate train is finally dying out. Come on, I'm not gonna pretend I don't value the great things about this game just because of Game Freak's shoddy business approach. Sure, people still have mixed thoughts about Dynamax, but I thought it was fun to see Pokemon turn huge, with some of them even having their own special forms. Heck, if anything, they gave us a prime candidate for this list. I'm sure you're aware of this boy by this point, an abominable entity of power who brought upon the darkest day all across Galar. What some of you may not be aware of, however, is how big Eternatus actually is. In its base form alone, it's 20 meters long, making it the biggest Pokemon to date, surpassing even Wailord. Of course, that's only cookie crumbs compared to the absolute scale of its Eternamax form. Stretching up to 100 meters in length, few things in the world of Pokemon reach the same level of intimidation as this twisted dragon of entropy in terms of size. Well, unless you count Virus Groudon, but that movie sucks. In this form, Eternatus boasts a fair coverage of max moves such as Max Ooze, Max Flare, and Max Wormwind. It takes the cooperative effort of not just you and Hop, but also the legendary dogs of Galar to bring down this monster. And it's kind of...
Anyone else feel like we overtrained for this? Tell me about it! No, shut up!
Yeah, the fight is really stupid easy, but honestly, I don't care. So much of this fight just feels right, from the scale to the corrupted skies to the spectacular music piece, really setting up the awe-inspiring atmosphere surrounding the boss. Eternatus may not get the official tertiary legendary spot as Rayquaza, Giratina, and Kyurem, but given this treatment and how far it goes with its presentation and sheer level of threat, it really earns its spot among them.
Jubileus, Jubileus, Jubileus! Oh, Jubileus!
Guess what? We're talking about Jubileus.
Ah, crap. Here we go again. Hey, Juby. Can I call you Juby? I feel like we see each other so much that you weren't a nickname now. So, Juby. Not too surprising you ended up here. After Baldur losing and Bayo putting young Soreza to bed, you just had to show up and ruin everything with your giant hair ribbons and mini galaxies. Come on, we just wanted to end this game on a high note, but no, you had to kidnap Bayo, force John to save her, and then force us to fight you in a literal galactic final fight. Oh yeah, like, let's forget the fact that you use your hair as both missiles and giant piercing ribbons for a sec. You can literally change the atmosphere of the arena to whatever you want. Like, first, a giant lava arena where the players' platforming skills are tested. Then, like, a giant ice lake where the players' dodging skills are tested. Oh yeah, and then a giant tornado where both skills are tested. Also, I don't know why I mentioned this in the previous segments to you, but you can just turn Bayonetta back into a child. Okay, so when was it established that you could do time shenanigans too? I don't know. But like, can we even catch our breath with you? Like, you saw holy bosses, right? You know how tough that boulder fight was, right? Oh crap. If we do god bosses, then we're probably gonna be talking about you again, aren't we? Dang. Well, yeah, and you're huge. I know people think some of the archangels are larger, but I don't know, that's just, they don't really see how big you actually are. But you're as large as a star there, Juby. Oh wow, that was so rhetorical, it hurt. But it's a good fight that I've talked about before, and I'll probably talk about again. It's fantastic, one that will live on in the years beyond. You know, for a series of games about a thief raccoon whose arch nemesis is a giant owl, this series doesn't really have a lot of giant bosses, or bosses that focus on Sly's stealth over his ability to beat people over the head with his cane.
Where's my money? Where's my money?
There is, however, one exception. One very large exception. I'm talking, of course, about giant Carmelita. I talked about her briefly during my strangely sexy bosses countdown, but that list was small potatoes compared to this one. Let's really put this boss under the magnifying glass and see why this fight has a reputation that's larger than life, and one that's not for those reasons. So, for those who don't know, in the third game of the series, Sly is recruiting members to his gang for one big heist. In this course of recruiting, one of his longtime friends, Murray, recommends an Australian Dreamtime mystic simply named the Guru. To secure his cooperation for the heist, Sly and the game must accomplish two main goals: drive the prospectors who are plundering the land of its precious jewels out of the area, and defeat the Mask of Dark Earth. In a game series known for larger-than-life personalities, the Mask of Dark Earth never speaks. It doesn't even seem to have a personality at all. It just runs around attaching to random prospectors and making them grow bigger, stronger, and more aggressive. Through a series of unfortunate events, the mask ends up on Carmelita Fox. As is usual, the mask causes her to experience some growth and her already testy temper to flare up. Then the sleep darts happen. For some unholy reason, the chemicals in Bentley's sleep darts interact with the magic of the Mask of Dark Earth, causing Carmelita to grow to absolutely titanic proportions. The only hope to save Carmelita at that point is for Sly to put his years of platforming know-how to use, making his way up each of the two connecting rings of the mask and baiting Carmelita to knock them off. Once the mask is off, thankfully, Carmelita shrinks back down, unconscious. Sly and the gang, being the gentlemen that they are, watch over the sleeping Carmelita. Any accusations they monkeyed around with their camera while she slept cannot be confirmed or denied at this time. Not much to say, what you see is what you get, but dang if the whole shebang ain't bonkers. Oh gosh, Monster Hunter. No, not doing this again. Every fucking time we talk about Mon Hunt, it's Fatalis this and Fatalis that. Look, I love the boss, but the comment section for those videos is starting to scare me. Not as much as Sonic Month, but it's getting pretty up there. Please tell me it's not Fatalis again. Well, that's not Fatalis, but he isn't that big.
Well, bleep.
Even some of you Monster Hunter diehards are looking at this boss and wondering what the heck it is. So let me introduce you to Laviente, one of the largest monsters ever conceived and a major challenge in Capcom's Japan-only Monster Hunter MMO, Monster Hunter Frontier. Laviente is if Devilo and Snorlax and the baby grew up to be a giant serpent. While not much is known about it from a lore perspective, what we do know that it is hungry. It sleeps underground for hundreds of years until the roar of its stomach awakens it, and then it feeds by eating everything around it. When the island it was sleeping under is devoid of life, it will then burrow under the seas to the mainland in search of food, all to satisfy its hunger. It will continue to feed until it's full or there's nothing left to eat. Jeez, Monhunt, stop making your lore so dark. You might match Kirby at this point. There are a few versions of Laviente. The normal version is that was awakened early by a volcanic eruption. The violent Laviente, which is a version that starves to the point where it transforms into a savage beast that will eat the world until it's satisfied. Going very Jormungandr with that one. But the final one is Berserk Laviente, the strongest variant that combines the hunger of violent Laviente, but it has to be fully rested, only waking up when it's fully digested, and has all the energy from everything it ate before. These fights play pretty similarly, and it's insane. You need 4 different parties of hunters all trying to fight the big guy at the same time. Some fighting it directly, some staying at camp and fighting it from afar, all sharing the same HP bar. It takes 10 of these hunts just to kill one Laviente. Eat your heart out, Kufatera. Most of the actual fight takes place with the entire monster surrounding you. For this segment, we'll talk about Berserk Laviente and its final phase. If we go over each Laviente and each phase, we'd be here forever. It starts by summoning lava geysers from the ground that can launch you straight into the air. Make sure you avoid these because if not, well... It really is a world eater. As you continue the fight, it will start charging a giant fireball to throw into the arena. If you fail the DPS check, you better Superman die quickly or else you will explode. Here come the lava walls too, because Laviente can do that for some reason. The final fight plays like that, but it takes a while to put him down. Some other notable moves on Laviente is his flashbang of a roar and a gas cloud that can paralyze hunters who don't have resistances to it. Now I know some Monhunt lore nuts are saying that Dalamander from Monster Hunter 4 is larger, but that's not actually true, as Laviente is larger by 10 meters. And yes, I know that the skeleton in Rotten Vale in World shows that it might be larger, but we never fought that, so shush. Laviente is one of the largest monsters ever to be seen by gamers and a literal gauntlet to kill. What else to expect from a Monster Hunter MMO, huh? After the awkward Lost World and Forces, Sonic Frontiers was the return to form the franchise needed. Just the ability to run at super speed in a huge open world is insanely fun. Oh, and the bosses are cool, I guess. Rather than Eggman's latest creation, boss fights in Frontiers take the form of the Ancients, seemingly mindless robots that are provoked by Sage into attacking you. And the biggest one of them is aptly named Giganto. The fight starts out impressively with Sonic being flung away and having to homing attack his way to the boss. Unfortunately for him, base Sonic stands no chance against Giganto. Thus, he must call upon the Chaos Emeralds to become Super Sonic. And wouldn't you know it, Giganto found one of them off screen. Wait a minute. A giant robot being controlled by an emotionless girl? A hero who can only defeat an enemy thanks to taking power from them? Did Sonic just reference Evangelion? Anyways, in order to grab the emerald it has, you have to climb up its body while dodging lasers, really putting into perspective how big this thing is. And then... it's time to face your fears when your time has come and gone. I'll be the one to carry on, and you can throw me to the walls, 'cause I am undefeatable. Super Sonic lets you fly all around Giganto, hammering him with spectral fists and after images. Giganto fights back with laser canisters, forcing you to deflect them. And wouldn't you know, they finally learned from Unleashed. All in all, incredibly quick, but equally satisfying battle. While other Frontier bosses may be better, especially since your lack of combos at this point can make fighting it feel a little repetitive, this one feels the most giant. And, well, that is the name of the game. Then the fact that it's the first boss makes a wicked good impression on the player.
I just really hope that Sega continues in this good direction. And I know that's what we said about Sonic Generations, but... Metal Gear. Okay, got that out of the way.
Metal Gear Rising has been a meme on my and other Countdown channels way before it re-emerged as a meme in the last couple of years from the search of people who played it recently. Can't help but blame myself for that. Though I wonder why Dynasty Warriors isn't doing better. I need to talk about that more. Oh well, thoughts for another day. I know what you're all thinking. It's Metal Gear Ray, right? What else would it be? Well, no. There's actually a bigger Metal Gear in this game, and yeah, it excels in size. I don't think a lot of people get how large the Metal Gear Excelsis is to tiny little Raiden. While not built as a nuclear armament, it still packs a wallop, hitting you with tough facts about how the country is nothing more than a surveillance state for the government, and that we're all on a one-way trip to being a single mind that will do anything our overlords tell us. Oh, and it has 2 giant cleavers that will come down and slash you. That also hurts. Compared to the other insane fights before and right after, I feel like our giant Spider-Man gets the shaft. Between the giant cleavers trying to slice you, lasers, rockets trying to blast you, and Armstrong trying to mock you, there's a lot that goes into this fight. Its ending is even better with you doing a giant cleaver tool between Raiden and Armstrong, going into blade mode with the biggest blade of the game, and ending with you just slamming the dang thing right on top of it. That would have killed anyone. Too bad the pilot was Armstrong, and as you know, he is his own monster. As I was saying, I feel this fight is really overlooked compared to other showdowns with the likes of Sam, Ray, and Armstrong himself. This fight is still cool and shows how far Raiden has come from just the beginning of the game. While it does pale to the preceding battle for a first stage to a final boss, there are way worse and only a few better. If this list was about the size of their personality, you know this guy would be at the top. You know him, you love him, he's the Lord of the Underworld, Hades. I just hope he's not too mad about us picking Hudraw over him in funniest bosses.
Now, don't get your dad bod in a tizzy, Joshy Poo. I only have a modest appetite for souls with mediocre funny bones.
Oh boy.
Anyway, Hades is definitely a boss who is larger than life, and death for that matter. I mean, seriously, he completely dwarfs Thanatos. It's not even close. I'm sure everyone is aware, but for those who have been living under the river Leth, let me remind you, Hades is the god of the underworld and the primary antagonist of Kid Icarus Uprising. His big entrance comes just as you think you've beaten the game in defeating Medusa, tearing away the credits scroll with his own hand. We quickly learn Hades is an arrogant motor mouth who spews jokes at a mile a minute. What his introduction cutscene doesn't quite convey is his imposing physical size. Let me clarify. An entire level of this game takes place inside Hades' stomach, and the boss fight is his heart. And even this organ is several times larger than our poor Pity Pat. If that doesn't make you feel small in comparison, I don't know what will. Even during the final fight with Hades and the Great Sacred Treasure, you can't help but feel like a little more than an annoying gnat through most of it. Especially when he swats you out of the sky, completely destroying the Great Sacred Treasure. Of course, for all of Hades' awesome size in both stature and personality, there are still bosses on this list that make even him seem small. Don't worry, Hades, you'll always be my favorite big ham.
'Twas never a matter of if, only when.
Yeah, I couldn't not fit Shadow of the Colossus in here somewhere. It's a land of giant, lumbering, monumental-sized beasts just minding their own business, and you gotta go around and kill them all for the tiniest chance of bringing your loved one back to life. The spooky disembodied voice said so. Any one of these big boys could be on the list, except the 2 small ones. So how do we pick just one? Let's try a random one. Malice, the very last of the 16 Colossi, and the one obstacle remaining keeping you from your goal. Okay, so the Colossus is in that tower, right? Very wrong. The Colossus is the tower. Literally towering over everything in the land, including his fellow Colossi, with the bravado of Chernobog. If his domineering appearance doesn't send shivers down your spine, consider what it took to get to this point. Overcoming 15 other Colossi, Agro, your horse, the only companion you've had, just died, and the final Colossus you must kill to save your lover is right in front of you. All the emotions and adrenaline come to a head when you realize that everything you've done may have not been worth it. But sunk cost fallacy is a thing, so you must persevere. This is no mere duel, this is a trial. The ultimate test of your capability. A trial to be able to even approach the beast, followed by a long climb up that is a quest all its own. When you reach the top, the battle is over as quickly as the blink of an eye. Oh, and all that's without even mentioning Mouse's boss music. Rather than epic battle music, it's a somber, subdued drone that really puts things into perspective. This lumbering behemoth was just minding its own business, only to learn that 15 of his best buddies are all dead. And now, he's next on the menu. I keep bringing up how morally ambiguous the whole thing is, but this track beautifully sells the gravity of it all. You just conquered the ultimate beast. You should feel overjoyed and accomplished, or at least you should be patting yourself on the back. But instead, this feels like a hollow victory as you're forced to reflect on your journey of destruction and decide, was it all worth it? As grandiose as the whole shebang is, it lists a lot of points due to Agro's death, quote unquote. Having your only real friend perish was an amazing way to raise the stakes for the final battle, only for him to miraculously survive with no explanation. Keep in mind, he's just a normal horse. Barely one with the height of steel if he can survive a fall like that. Good thing that didn't go through the swamp of sadness. That would have gotten him for sure.
I don't know. I'm not proud of that one. Just be nice to horses, guys. Is that too much to ask?
Final Fantasy X is a game that I've been less than positive about on this channel for a few reasons. Honestly, it does a lot of things that are so memey and dumb, it's kinda asking for it. But hey, there are a lot of things it does well too. Characters and gameplay, when they aren't super memey, are pretty solid. For instance, when you finally unlock the truth of the world and decide to end the never-ending cycle of sin, you don't have much of a choice but to engage the giant titan on a frickin' airship! Yeah! Sin has been the main antagonistic force throughout the game, so it isn't surprising that the actual fight against him is quite the gauntlet. Just trapping the beast is a spectacle that blows away oceans and lands. You know you're in for a fight. You know you're in for a fight. You start off on the airship Fahrenheit, attacking the two fins at its side. Each fin has a lot of HP, but they aren't threatening otherwise. They will cast gravity from afar or slam into your airship if you're close. Just stay away, pelt with magic, you'll be fine. Phase 3 comes in as you fight the main core in its body. It summons its final spawn, Janae's, which acts as a guardian. Kill the spawn first, and all that's left is the core, which will pelt you with gravity and elemental magic. All of this is a prelude to the true final fight with Sin's head. In this one, you have a time limit before it uses Giga Graviton, which destroys the airship and you with it. Hit him with everything you got at this point because there is nothing left to lose. Just be careful. First few turns, he will bring you closer to his mouth, which puts him within sword range, but puts you in Graviton range. Keep it up, and you'll finish it before he says Giga-Chew. I'll admit that the fight itself can be a bit underwhelming at times, but the scale and sheer destruction that Sin causes on a daily basis make it one of gaming's most destructive forces. Plus, you have to admit, the set pieces are really cool. Sin's spawn was the game's first encounter, seeing the destruction it wrought in Dream Xanarkand, learning the lore of it as you enter Spyra, seeing the widespread chaos it causes throughout the game through its spawns. Every truth adds to the fight and culminates in this. Definitely made it better than you, Yevon, at least.
There, I said something nice about Ken. You happy? I just need to say something nice about Lucian from Fable 2, or need to get to 200,000 subs so I can stream Okami on my channel for me to finally be free.
Just can't help yourself.
Kirby has fought a myriad of foes throughout his adventure, from his titular rivals to ancient deities to intergalactic eldritch demons. On today's episode, our god-slaying Marshmallow will be fighting a different type of monster: artificial intelligence. Star Dream is the mother computer that serves as a core to Axis Arc, a massive space vessel used by Haltman Incorporated to invade and mechanize worlds. Right off the bat, you can feel the sheer scale of the Axis Arc just by entering it. Kirby takes the Warp Star straight into the entrance and becomes practically dot-sized from where we can see him. Yeah, what a way to make us feel anxious. After you defeat Haltman, he attempts to activate Star Dream, but is interrupted by his secretary Susie, who plots to take Star Dream's control away from him. Alas, it was in vain, as Star Dream comes to its own and takes over Haltman's mind. Calculating that all life around it is beyond saving, the mother computer abandons Haltman's mission and sets out to destroy Popstar. From there, Susie gives Kirby one last Robobot armor for him to use. He takes over Meta Knight's halberd and reaches for the stars, where the final battle awaits. Star Dream attacks Kirby with projectiles, Robobot drones, meteorites, and even giant code cubes. Gotta do your best to shoot down the drones and meteorites to power up your special attack if you want any chance of taking this thing down. Doesn't make it easy for you, of course, as it will occasionally summon heart barriers to protect itself and try to screen wipe you by ramming you or firing massive lasers that can block your view. After all that's done, Stardream merges with the Axis Arc as you both take the fight across the orbits of Popstar. Stardream now launches bigger drones and fires much more coordinated slew of lasers and missiles after you. The more you tear into the Arc, it starts summoning its tentacles, the same ones you once traversed as levels throughout the game. They'll try to smack you around with them, and in the OS version of the fight, they detach and fly all around you. After you finally destroy the outer layer, you see Stardream's true form.
This one's a hacking chunker!
Yep, it's a clockwork star. The same time as Nova and Superstar, and this time instead of sneaking into its heart, we're out to make it personal. In this form, Stardream's attacks become significantly more unusual. Rather than firing missiles and drones at you, it attacks with giant holographic numbers seemingly counting down. All the while, it teleports and summons a bunch of giant stationaries, from an electric light bulb, piano keys, and to a locket that literally takes a bite out of you. You definitely want to take this thing down fast, as after it finishes counting down, it will launch a screen cleaning attack that can one-shot you if you're not at full health. After all that's done, you get to finish off what's left of Stardream by launching Kirby onto it and obliterating it with a Giga Drill Breaker! Overall, Stardream goes above and beyond, giving us a fight that's both unique and epic. Not only does being a Clockwork Star pay a fair tribute to the series and add to its lore, but it comes with a lot of spectacle, from the nebula-covered skyline to the fact that Stardream itself is almost as big as a whole planet. Mind you, the halberd was once large enough to be an entire world in a Kirby game, and even just 1/8 of the Arc's outer shell is enough to tower over the halberd and cover a chunk of the screen. Really puts into perspective the astronomical presence radiating from this killer computer. When I was choosing a boss from Asura's Wrath for this list, I found myself caught between two probable candidates. Wizen, the very first boss of the game and one of the 7 deities, or Chakravartin, the big bad overarching baddie of the game who manipulated everything behind the scenes to further his goals. Both are great picks, but there's one thing that kinda hindered Chakravartin's chances.
I can deny it no longer! I am small.
Yeah, for an almighty creator, Chakravartin's true form is kinda dinky in scale, so he loses points. Wizen, on the other hand, gets extra brownie points because his fight is so dang ridiculous. When you first encounter him, yeah, he's about average height for a big boy, nothing special, just flapping his gums, practically begging you to punch his lights out, which works fine because in Asura's Wrath, it's all about the build-up. Oh, I love when games let me do this. After that, it's just a matter of dodging his blows, landing a couple hits, and then yeeting him out of here. Okay, that wasn't as big as I hoped it would be, and holy guacamole! He's the size of a mountain! Now, instead of a duel, you're in the middle of a rail shooter, and holy crap, he just body slammed you! What's left to do but going full octopus and knocking him out? Just keep on shooting and dodging and you're gonna be a-okay, right?
I call upon the power of the Contra!
Say it with me, kids. Holy crap!
There he is, folks. Why isn't that full power? The guy's the size of the planet. At this point, his ultimate plan is to poke the Earth, and you're the only one who can stop him. And you literally feel the pressure. You feel the impact of his intergalactic boop. So you better start mashing those buttons or we're all screwed. Yeah, it's a quick time event, but here's the thing. Those can be done very well if handled right, and this is definitely handled right here. Goes without saying that duking it out against Wizen is completely bonkers. He grows bigger with each phase, and each growth challenges you to adapt in combat as he is one step closer to crushing you beneath his finger. I also thought it was a nice touch that his growing matches his desperation. Yeah, he talks big, but he gets more desperate as the fight progresses. And he should, considering you knock him on his butt like 4 times. And the kicker? Wyzon's only the first major boss of the game. He set the bar for things to come, and he literally left a huge impact on new players that got them excited for what happens next. Almost makes hearing his blabbering worth it. Meteos. Who would have thought the biggest boss of all time is from a puzzle game? Twin Mold, Majora's Mask. I didn't know you could kill these guys without the Giant's Mask. Stone Titan, Castlevania, Lords of Shadow. Castlevania tried to be Shadow of the Colossus. Short-lived, but surprisingly challenging. Lord Avalugg, Legends Arceus. Curse my one per franchise rule! Grun, Nier Automata. Willie came back with a fresh coat of metal, and yet people still want him dead. Kronos, the Titan father of Zeus, learning from prophecy that his son would one day overthrow him. In response, he attempted to eat him.
Trust me, that's one of the least ridiculous things to happen in Greek mythology. Yet Icarus Uprising's tone was well deserved.
Being a game based on it, God of War adapts this storyline. Kratos has been betrayed by the gods and wants to get his revenge on his own father Zeus. Thus, he teams up with the Titans in their vengeful crusade. Kronos has been a present entity throughout the series. In the first game, he was the guy carrying Pandora's temple. In 2, he was one of your allies in the war against Zeus. In 3, well, it's a different story. Kronos blames Kratos for killing Gaia, the mother of the Titans. But Kratos only did that because she betrayed him. Keep in mind, he was the guy that freed the Titans and led them into battle against the gods in the first place. So, yeah, kind of with Kratos on this one. Anyways, the build-up for this fight is amazing. You started 3 on the back of a Titan, and now you face off in combat against one. The game does an incredible job showing how minuscule you are compared to Kronos. The fight begins with him trying to crush you like an M&M. From there, it basically turns into an M-rated Shadow of the Colossus. You climb all over Kronos, fighting off against the guys inhabiting his body. You tear off his fingernail, attack his blister, and tear his skin right open. And it all climaxes with Kratos ripping out Kronos' intestines and then killing them with the spike he was chained by.
Kratos got guts!
No, man, it's a good thing Ant-Man didn't kill Thanos in Endgame.
Kronos is everything that a giant boss fight should be. It has the sense of scale, the dynamic camera movements, the unique gameplay against a large foe, the progression, everything.
I'm joshscorcher, and I'm looking forward to the month of love.
Oh, so am I, dear.
Hey everyone, this is Josh. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the video around. Please check out my other social media like my Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr. Check out my other channels such as Joshua Burner for reactions and other stuff, Dragon Fighter Gaming for tabletop, and Bob Equestria for cartoons. Consider checking below the video and donating to my Patreon, Streamlabs for my merchandise, or becoming a YouTube member. Thanks for watching.